Why is it when you make a pattern up, supposedly in your own size, and it still doesn't fit? Or how about buying that dress online, looking at the sizing chart in your own size, and it still doesn't fit? What is that? We're going to talk about it. That's what's next. Alright guys, so welcome back to my channel. My name is Susan Elias, and if you're new here, I have an extensive channel on fashion design and everything fashion design. And I just wrapped up this meeting from my premier members on my membership program on my YouTube channel about this very subject, and it is what is ease. And I thought it was very important to bring this to all of you because this is such an important subject, whether you're a fashion designer, seamstress, pattern maker, or just buying clothing. Understanding what this is will open up your mind and have you navigate things a lot easier. So I want to talk about the different ease that there are, which is there's style ease, there's fitting or wearing ease, there's what's called negative ease, there's also this term if you so called easing, and we'll talk about all of that. But before we get started, I would love for you to be a part of my premier members on my membership level program, where you get to have access to me once a month talking about anything that you struggle with fashion design. And if you want to find out more about that, go on my main page, hit the word join, and come on board and be a part of next month's meeting. All right, so what is ease? Ease is the excess volume on a garment other than your body measurements that allows you to wear the garment, allows you to breathe, to walk, to bend, to stretch, and just the bare minimum of excess that is added to a pattern or to a garment in order for you to wear that garment properly. Usually you see this in things like tight-fitting clothing or your basic slope or block patterns. If you're a fashion designer or a student, these are the base block patterns of your body, like a top bodice, skirt, sleeve, that is just very close fitting to get you to understand how fitting is, how garments are constructed. It is the basic garment that is usually used in fashion design or even as seamstresses for learning fitting and manipulation of garments. So usually you'll see that in some designs, but mostly it is your basic designs. Then you get what's called style ease or designer ease. That is the excess volume that is added to a pattern to create a design, a style. Actually something other than a close-fitting garment that you would be wearing or making to learn how to design, if that makes sense. So it could be anything, guys. It could be that billowy skirt that is very full that you want to have around your body where it's gathered, a dirndl skirt. That's obviously a lot more excess than what is on a regular fitted skirt. So anything extra is just to incorporate or to make that design come to life. So it is really up to the designer to determine what types of excess you're going to add to that pattern in order to create that look or that garment that you're trying to achieve, if that makes sense. Whereas fitting ease or wearing ease has some guidelines. Usually as a fashion designer, you have anywhere from 1.5 to 2 inches excess on the bust level if you're putting in a set-in sleeve so that you can lift your arm properly. At the waist, you usually have about 1 inch to 1.25 inches excess added to your pattern. At the hip level, you're usually about 1.5 inches, maybe 2 inches more at the hip level. That's just for your basic garment, but designer ease sky is the limit, guys. You can make whatever design you want, and that's where it gets creative with the pattern making in order to add the excess to create those designs. Such as, let's say you have this dress and you can see that it's fuller here at the waist. is also fuller here at the hip. So to make that excess, you have to then determine how much extra you want to add to that pattern in order to fulfill that design need. Or a billowy skirt, or a flounce, or gathers, or a wrap, anything other than the body measurement itself. Such as a unusually large collar or cowl neck, anything that is added to enhance the design. And then there's things that is called negative ease. Negative ease is usually achieved, or decided, I should say, with knit garments. Why is that? Because the actual fabric itself is a knit, which might have spandex in it or not, but is designed to stretch. So when you're designing things that you want to have fitted, you have to then get your knit fabric and stretch it to measure how much excess it has on it, and then decide as a designer to reduce how much you want to take out of that pattern in order to achieve maybe a close-fitting design with that knit fabric. Negative ease is usually used with knit fabrics most of the time, but it can also be used in wovens. Why is that? Let's say you're making a corset, guys, and you want something to be so fitted to your body. A corset usually pushes you all the way in, and you're actually moving body fat from one location up. So in the situation like that, negative ease is removing either no ease at all if in certain areas, or actually reducing the ease, especially if you're using kind of a knit corset material, in order to push your body fat and move it to another location. So where if I'm making an actual corset, I may actually add ease at the bust level because I'm pushing body fat up to that area in order to achieve that design. So negative ease can be used in woven as well as stretch in order to achieve a design that you want to make. Reducing the amount of excess added to each pattern piece will achieve this. Then you hear what's called easing. Easing is actually putting one pattern piece into another pattern piece that might be smaller, meaning trying to ease one piece into another piece with manipulation in maybe a basting thread or a slight gather thread, or even pins, and manipulating it when you're sewing, so that in the finished look, such as a sleeve or armhole, in most cases, the sleeve is usually anywhere from 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch more, even in close-fitting garments, that has to be eased in to the armhole itself. And so that's where that term easing takes place in sewing. So with all that being said, why is it that when you get your patterns and you measure yourself and you follow the pattern directions as far as your measurements, your basic bust, waist, and hip measurements, and it still doesn't fit? Well, that is the excess ease that is added to that pattern for the design itself. And depending upon the design itself or the manufacturer, it can vary. It can be big. And I know most of the time you're going to hear, oh, it's too big for me. It's too big for me. That is because it is easier to take things in than it is to let things out. And as a new sewer, most of those sewing patterns have excess amounts of ease. So just be mindful to, when you measure yourself, to not just go by the measurements or the size that they're picking for you. Go ahead and measure your pattern pieces and actually measure at the strategic bust measurement, waist measurement, and hip. And you determine whether that's too much excess or not when you're making that design. And then you will have control over the ease that is put there, not the manufacturers of the pattern companies or the design houses of the garments that you buy. When you buy online, always measure yourself first. always check the sizing chart, because each manufacturer is going to have a different sizing chart and you'll have to follow theirs in order to understand it. Then look at the pictures, see the volume of that garment on the model, and you can determine whether that might be too much excess or not for that style, and you can decide whether to go down a size or up a size on your own. So I hope that helps, and if it did, give this a thumbs up. Come on board, guys, be a part of my community. I'd love to have you subscribe, hit that bell notification so you don't miss any of my videos, and I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.